Hey all, this is Mike Harvey again coming to you from my home office here in Southwest Florida. This time I wanted to come back to you with another video on Reality Cloud Studio, and I wanted to focus in on the meshing part of this program. It is a very powerful part of the overall experience with the software, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that you can do with the mesh. Not only is it just a nice way to visualize your scene, but it does have some use cases in some of the downstream softwares that we have available as well. So what I've done is I've gone out and scanned in a couple of locations. One is along Fort Myers Beach in a nice area down by the piers underneath the Matanzas Pass Bridge. So that's just on the island itself and on a road with some colorful buildings there. I've also gone to downtown Fort Myers and scanned the Davis Art Center. And we'll use both of these examples of preparing the data and then getting us to the mesh and then looking at some of the ways that we can utilize the mesh in both 3D Art and I also bring it into Navisworks, into a CAD platform. Now, for these scans, I used the BLK360 G2 scanner. Once you have scanned, obviously bring these into Registry 360, do your linking, and then create your report. Now, before we export out of the system, out of Registry 360, you could do some cleaning of all of the cloud here. Reality Cloud Studio does a very good job of cleaning automatically a lot of the noise, whether it be parked cars, people walking around, or those types of things, but you could always help it. So here in Registry 360, I'm just cleaning out some of the things in the air, people walking by, a couple of parked cars, those types of things that we want to get rid of. If you want to do other animations or have a cleaned cloud, that is inside Reality Cloud Studio. So now we will go ahead and finalize this process of the smooth surface, and then we'll go into our reporting here. So now what we'll do is we'll turn on all of the setups so I can have those visible as part of my report that is exported out. We will accept this, and then we will go ahead and accept the final report. And then we will go ahead and name the report and save that to the appropriate place. And then when I'm exporting this, I'm going to use E57 because there is an important tip when you're exporting E57, especially out of Reality Cloud Studio, so that you get all of the individual images. So I hit E57. I'm going to select where the file is going to reside, hit save, but also go into this options and make sure that the setup, the individual setups is selected. This way you get all of the individual images as it is exporting out. Okay, now this file will just finish off here in the last couple of seconds here. Now, once we have the E57 file, we will import that into the Reality Cloud Studio environment. It's just a drag and drop process, but once it's done processing, you get the point cloud and all the images, the spherical images like you see here. And then from here, we can choose or not to create the mesh, but being in this case we want to talk about the mesh, we will go ahead and trigger it. That will take a little bit of time depending on the size of your file, but there's also some options in here. I'm going to select the RTC because sometimes the triangle size that it creates is a little bit smaller than the BLK one. So that's just kind of a trial and error to see what you like, but we will go ahead and let this run here for a little bit, and we'll see what the mesh looks like. So here's the resulting mesh. I think it looks pretty good. So looking it over, we're going to go over to the image and then cross back over into the mesh area, and the colors look quite well. Very vivid, which is kind of what we wanted. So the next question is, what do we do with this mesh? So I'm going to skip over to the Davis Center. And this is the one that is uploaded. I made that there. But first, what I want to do is one of the tools that we can do with this mesh is obviously we can start calculating measurements or areas. So I'm going to go over to this scan of a condo. And one of the nice tools is this tool that is here that can strip off the roof off of a scan that is done inside. And this is essentially our dollhouse view. So we can go into this view here. I'm going to scoot down to just one of these pictures here that are hanging on the wall. And one of the tools that we can do, and this is one of the nice things with the mesh, is because it is so picture realistic, that we can go ahead and start creating areas. So I'm just going to do a quick area calculation along this, and you can do an area in a couple of ways. One of just picking, but this one I'm going to use an area along a plane. So those first pick points that I used were creating a plane, and now I'm just going to pick on the corners of that picture, and then just hit enter, and I can name my area for that picture, and use that as part of the information. And of course, this can be shared with your customers as well. So that's one of the tools that we can do with the meshing as part of Reality Cloud Studio. The next one that we want to talk about is moving the mesh over into some of our downstream software. So one of the things that we can do is bring the mesh into 3DR. So what I'm going to do here is just go back over to the Davis Center, and I'm going to use this one because it's we've been using the scans along the beach for all the processing, but I'm going to use this one because it is an interesting building, and we're going to do some we'll do some line work extraction from this mesh. So what I've done is you export out the OBJ format out of RCS, and then you're going to import it into Cyclone 3DR. So go into that file, you can sort them, and you want to pick all the OBJ files like I've done here. And I'm just going to drag and drop and hit OK, import. And then all of those will be brought into the system and built into the mesh that you saw in Reality Cloud Studio. Now in 3DR, what you can do is you can also, now obviously you can do meshing in 3DR as well, but if you like the resulting mesh that RCS does, and it's quite good, bring it into 3DR. You can clean it up, you can do your smoothing, you can add in fill holes, all those different things in here. But one of the tools that we have in 3DR is creating lines along the plane. And this is kind of a neat little tool here. And then from the resulting lines, you can send that into CAD. You can do those types of things when you're creating your plans or anything like that. So this tool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this face along this building here. And we're going to basically extract the couple of windows and that building face that is right there almost in the center of the screen. So what we can do is go into that tool, and I'm going to pick that center, which creates a plane along there, and I can create what's basically with contour lines along that face. So now when I hit those lines, it will create a polyline. Now naturally the polyline is going to be jagged, so there are tools in here that you can go ahead and smooth those out. So for these windows, what I'll do is I will isolate out the lines that we have for the windows, and then we can pick those in a different, one at a time, and then fit a best fit rectangle to those. So that's what I've done there. So now we have just a four-sided figure, so that can go into CAD. But then also we can edit these lines, pond lines. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and kind of zoom in into this area here, and I can pick on the polylines, and you can see that these little handles, you can add grips. So kind of like in Core, if you've been a Cyclone Core user, you can add grips, as well as in CAD, you can add handles. So I can now add these grips, and I can edit out some of these lines. So I'm just going to trace along the staircase here, and I can also remove lines, so I can hover over them and just remove them. So now I have created the overall face of that building. So that's a nice, neat little thing that you can do with a mesh. And then lastly, what we can do with a mesh is we can go ahead and put it inside of a CAD program, kind of like Navisworks. So what I've done here is I put the whole mesh in Navisworks. So whether you want to do your checking, or you can just make a movie or fly through, you have those options available to you. And those are some of the cool things we can do with the mesh that comes from RCS. Yes, there are plenty of others, but we will save those for other videos. But I hope all of you well, and we'll see you all next time in the next movie for Reality Cloud Studio.